Hey guys, Peter here to do an album review. Today I'm here to tell you all about the latest from Dogma, Mallevs Maleficarvm, out September 12 on Ethereal Soundworks. This album has 10 tracks, 67 minutes in length, and this is the band's second full-length studio album. These guys are from Portugal, they sing in Portuguese, and they're a gothic doom metal band. And this album is very consistent. Considering that this is their second release, I really wanted to see growth. I wanted to see a transition from that debut record to this second record, so you could see the progression of the band. You can see where they started, and you can start to see the steps that they're taking towards their future and where they're going. So I was happy to see that this album offers that growth, offers that path. It really starts to show us where they were, where they are, and where they're going. The first element of this album that surprised me was the construction of the album itself, the overall structure of the record. Really interesting approach, connecting all the tracks together in order to give this perfect fluid motion. There's no interruptions, there's no speed bumps along the way. You cannot slide a piece of paper in between these tracks. They're glued together. What this allows the album to be is one of those records that you absolutely get lost in it. Because once you start listening to this album, the album has a very unique atmosphere to it. And that atmosphere is unique to the record, but it permeates through all 10 songs. While there's changes from track to track, that atmosphere never changes. So when you add that atmosphere to the way the album is constructed, you're absolutely going to get lost in it. When you're listening to it, you're not going to know if you're in song 2, song 3, song 10. You just have no clue whatsoever until you check which track you're in. Because the album just flows. The album has a heartbeat, has a soul. So you get lost in it and you just move with it. You go where it takes you without even questioning what track is in it, because it's not important to know what song you're listening to. What's important is for you to enjoy that journey and enjoy that moment. One of the aspects of this album that also has an important role in the overall, perhaps in the overall atmosphere of the record, is definitely the sound. And within the sound, you definitely have to talk about the guitars. I felt that they created a sound base that really had a guitar-driven approach. The guitars are meaty on this record. They really become the forefront of everything else sound-wise. I was expecting perhaps the drums to have a more predominant role to create the bass line of the tracks, to be the foundation in which each and every single song gets built upon. And after listening to the album several times, I have to say I felt like the guitars were the driving force behind each and every single song. That was their starting point, and it comes across in how the songs are put together. Everything else came afterwards, including the drums. So while the drums are heavy at times, they have a good tempo, they really have an important role within the construction of the songs. Everything derives from how the guitars sound. Either they have that slow burning, heavy moving aspect to the way they're put together, or they have a more penetrating, driving sound that just finds any little crack and nookie and just covers them with a progression of sound that they have built in within them. So I really like the guitar sound overall on this record. Like I said, it's very thick, it's very robust. It really almost expands on the tracks, and it really gives the album a much more robust approach sound-wise. Not just because of the way the guitars, but because of how everything else then feeds off of it and how it comes across to the listener. Vocally, the album is dynamic. As dynamic I was expecting it to be, considering you have two different vocalists. You have Isabel and Gonçalo. Very different styles, very different approaches, very different elements that they bring to the forefront. So from a vocal perspective, the album is super dynamic, super fluid, but I felt that they used them in perfection on every single song, really understanding the lyrics of the song, what is the message of the song, what is the concept behind that track, what do you want to achieve with that song, and how can we use these two very different vocalists to reach those goals? Not only to get the most out of both of them and to really elevate them, to put them in a position to shine and be the best they can be within each and every single song, but to offer different elements to the track. I don't think they approach the vocals just as, okay, we want them to sing these lines and we want them to bring some emotion to the forefront and their different styles in order to create a different soundscape, a different atmosphere within the song. I felt that there was more to it than just that. I really felt that the vocals on this album brought life to the record, they brought life to the lyrics, and they brought an emotional baggage that the songs really needed in order to work. When you're looking at an album like this, when you look at a doom gothic metal album like this, the lyrics are very important. They play an important role. The vocalists play an important role because they bring those lyrics to life. And to me, they also play an important role because they add atmosphere to the songs. You're not just singing, You're creating this blanket, this aura that the songs need to have in order for you to feel them. Not only listen to them, but feel them. They become almost like a living organism. So the way these two vocalists were used throughout this record, in my opinion, was perfect. Really the right amount of each one on every single song, knowing exactly what you want out of the track and how we're going to use them. Isabel was outstanding. Her voice is phenomenal. She brings a little bit of a symphonic element with her range to the tracks, and that was a very important element in the overall atmosphere that this album has, because the album is moving in a different direction almost with every single song, the way the songs are constructed, the way they sound, and having her voice as a consistent element from top to bottom. She's absolutely consistent. She doesn't change one bit from the first track to the last track. That gives the record that consistency that I was talking earlier. It unifies the album. The album is already unified in its construction and its structure, but she brings another level of unification to the record and really creates this incredible atmosphere that while the music perhaps is changing, while the mood of the song is changing, depending on how the vocalists working together or the lyrics of the tracks are coming across, her performance really creates that same level of atmosphere to every single song, and that is very important for an album like this, and kudos to her. She was absolutely phenomenal. I really love that more operatic, symphonic element that she has to her voice and what that brings to a record like this and to a band like this. Overall, this is a very interesting album, a very good and well-crafted record. And in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if it's in Portuguese or not. It doesn't matter if you don't understand what they're saying, because you can feel the emotion, you can feel the passion in each song, you can feel the lyrics coming to life. You may not understand what they're saying, but you cannot deny the emotion that the vocals and the overall sound of the tracks carry. That is universal language. Anybody can understand the passion, the anger, the pain, the suffering that's represented on every single song of this album, regardless if you understand the language or not. Kudos to them for creating an album that becomes part of this universal language of sound and music. As far as songs are concerned, I want to start off with Cintinella. This is the opening track. Musically and vocally, you get a feel for what the rest of the album is going to offer. This opening track really works well from that perspective, because everything that you're going to get throughout this record is represented in this song, is thrown at you with the opening track of the album. There is some heaviness to this track, but it moves at a great tempo. It's a song that has a great tempo to it. It's not a slow burning track at all. It just moves at a great tempo. With the vocal changes, really ignite some energy and really elevate the track, specifically coming from Isabel. I really feel like her voice elevates the song and Gonçalo's voice brings the song down. They really have this duality to it. And it's interesting because overall the track musically is very level. Is very linear. There's not much of a fluctuation to it. The track seems to be navigating between darkness and light all the time, and most of that navigation is done through the two vocalists and what they offer to the song. In the chorus, perhaps the song being a little bit more melodic than the verses, but it's a very linear, musical driven track where the vocals are really the puppet masters pulling the strings up and down depending on how the song moves along from beginning to end. Next track, Asmodeus, great guitar riff. Isabel's voice is like a ray of light shining into this track. It shifts into a little bit more of a darker mood as you get into the chorus. Vocally and even musically, I felt that the atmosphere, that as you move from verses to chorus, it's slightly different. It has that dynamic mechanism to it. The song really shows you these two different worlds, the world that you get in the verses and the world that you're going to get in the chorus. There are some similarities between those two worlds, but there is also a lot of differences. They're almost a world apart, if you will. But that allows the record to have, this specific track to have an emotional baggage that just fluctuates, depends on how the song moves. Your own emotions towards the song and the emotions that are represented not only in the lyrics but how the track is put together and in the vocals changes as the song is moving along. It doesn't give you a steady, continuous feel like the way you feel at the beginning is the way you're going to feel at the end. No, you're going to change. Your mood is going to change as the track moves along, as you travel within the song. An incredible guitar solo on this track. This is one of the singles, and this is without a doubt my favorite song on the album. I just love the dynamic mechanisms that it has. I love the emotion that it packs. I love how driven it is. I love the sound that it has, and it's just a beautiful track all around. And that guitar solo is outstanding. It really elevates the track. It really merges everything that the track had to offer up until that point in the solo. The solo becomes the musical representation of the atmosphere that you are getting from the vocals. So really interesting approach, and they took a little bit of also the melody that the track carried up to that point, expanded on that melody, but more importantly, in my opinion, I feel like the music that solo has built within itself is really a representation of all the mood and the atmosphere that the vocals were giving to the track up until that point. Last but not least, Velho do Mar. I love this track as well. Really interesting. It's a really stripped down song. Gonçalo's voice is outstanding. This is his track to shine. And he really feels like he is the character that the song is about. He really got into the skin of the character, and he became the character with his voice, with his tone, and with his delivery. Very dark embrace. This is a song that has a very dark undertone to it. Isabel provides almost the siren. And when you think of the lyrics of the song, when you think about what this song represents in terms of the old man in the ocean, her voice really becomes an atmospheric element. And that's all that it really becomes within this song. But when you have that operatic approach, when you have that more symphonic approach to your voice, you can really do a lot. And in this song, they used her as the siren of the sea, while Gonçalo is the old man. I really love the fact that they used the vocalists as the characters, and they really became the characters of the song, and therefore they brought the song to life, they brought the lyrics to life, and they brought a different emotional response out of the song for the listener. Incredible track, incredibly thought out track, and the way they put it together was flawless top to bottom. One of the best, well constructed and well delivered tracks on this album. This is it, guys. This is Dogma with Mallevs Maleficarvm. Once again, out September 12th on Ethereal Soundwork. Let me know your thoughts on the band, on the singles. Use the comment section below. I'll be reading those and getting back to you. Take care, guys.